right. Well, hello, and welcome everyone to our BG5 Live. Today is June 14th, 2020. This is episode 61, and we are going to take a look at trait 62. We're going to take a look at discovery through the details. And before we get started, again, I want to welcome our panelists. I want to do a very, very special welcome to our special guest, Leanne Wolf. So it's so great to have you on board. And do you want to just say just a quick hello to everyone before we get started?
Sounds good. Thank you for requesting my energy. I appreciate it, and I think it'll be fun.
It's going to be very fun. We've already had fun. Just before we went live, we've just Leanne had an amazing quote which she'll share with you, and it's going to be really fun today. So welcome, Leanne. Great to have you on board. And Rob, hey Rob.
Hey everybody, glad to be back. This is a lot of fun, and Karen's not lying. We were all just getting everybody set and we were already laughing. So fasten your seatbelts.
It's going to be a lot of fun. Exactly. Hey, Natalie, welcome.
Hi. Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm already loving it.
Beautiful. Well, welcome to Natalie. Welcome to Rob. And let's go to Chris.
Hello, everyone. So glad you're here with us today. Yes, I cannot wait. I'm already like, oh boy. Oh boy.
Watch out.
Watch out. This is going to be, this is going to be a good one.
Very cool. Well, again, welcome to our panel. My name is Karen Sherwood. Welcome to our BG5 Live. Welcome to everyone who is watching us via Facebook Live, if you're live here in our Zoom room, or if you're watching via the recording. So let's jump in. And again, today we're taking a look at trait 62. This is the discovery through details. And we've been taking a journey through form, and we're in the last 4 traits of the journey of form. So it ends with 4 collective voices. So remember, last week we've been under a lot of pressure the last couple of weeks. Now we are once again in expression. So here we're going to take a look at the details. We're going to be taking a look at the facts. We're going to take a look at I think. Next week, we're going to take a look at stimulation. This is storytelling. This is about stories and I believe. Then we're going to take a look at influence. This is the 31. This is the focus on the future, the I lead. And then we'll take a look at retreat in the 33, the focus on the past and I remember. So again, just wanted to give you a big picture of sort of where we're going so that you can just kind of be aware of it on a daily basis. And, you know, it's very interesting what's happening right now. Right now, we have quite a bit of focus on that 61. So as you can see, we have this mental pressure that's happening right now, especially with the 61, with this inner truth. So we're really looking to find this inner truth and, and finding this inner truth through loving ourselves, but also, in the environment of loving ourselves, but also loving humanity as well. So it's a very fascinating time. And I know, Leanne, you do a lot of work in kind of taking a look at what the current themes are for the day. I didn't know if there was anything that you would like to add here as well.
Just to say how powerful 2020 is, even amongst what's happening in our disillusion out there, that the program's really empowering us to come to this place of awareness, to come to this place of individual, knowing and, individual love. Like, it's really been dropping us into that, and it's going to continue to do that until 2022. So, we have some time to drop into who we are, what we are, and allow for the program to really just empower us in ways that, may or may not have ever happened.
Yeah, exactly. And so when you can really, in a sense, trust the process, trust your decision-making strategy, trust yourself, right? That's when things unfold where we don't need to live in fear. We don't need to be in panic. Things are changing and they're going to continue to change. So we just need to be, be aware of that so we can also accept that change. And I think Leanne is spot on in really taking a look at, this is a major shift, right? This is a major, major, major shift. And, we're being supported through this process when we allow ourselves to be supported through this process as well. Yeah, beautiful. Thank you for that, Leanne. Anything, Chris or Natalie or Rob, that you would like to add before we dive into taking a look at the details in the 62?
I just noticed something. It's so funny how, we teach it, look at this stuff all day long, but then you put it in a slide like this and I go, I have every single one of those voices, these last 4 voices in form in an undefined communication and action function, and they're unconscious, all of them. So
Wow.
It's like something about the way of seeing that, and what you said is like these 4, for me, it's like 4 unconscious collective. Like I'm literally sort of this voice of the unconscious collective and going, huh? And so I just have this, where those of you who are attending with us, in the Zoom room, those of you who are watching the recording or watching with us on the BG5, Facebook group, it's like, it doesn't matter how much you think you know about this information, we start to just see it and put it together in different ways. And it's like, you get yourself and get each other and get the world at a different level. And so today I invite you, whether you have these defined or not, is just sit back, because I have this feeling, given the voices that are here today, Leanne, Rob, Natalie, Karen, that we're going to get some really interesting collective perspectives that are going to really bring all of us into a deeper awareness about what's going on.
I love that, Chris.
Yeah.
And I think, that's I was just talking with Leanne as well before we started about, I've been studying this for more than 10 years now, and there's been aspects that I've just, I've studied, I've learned, but I'm just now getting them. And I think that's what is so amazing and so profound when you really take a look at this information and you take a look at it correctly, right? From people who really know what this is about, right? Not people that are making stuff up, because there's a lot of people that are out there making stuff up, but you really learn this information at the depth of what this is. It is incredibly, incredibly profound. It's like the most sacred of sacred geometries, if you will. So let's dive into what this detail is all about. And so when we take a look at the details, again, we're focused here on the 62. This is the preponderance of the small. This is the manifestation through detail. So this is caution, patience, and the detail that produce excellence out of limitation. This is having the knack of organizing details in order to better understand and to explain complex concepts and complex situations. This is about fixing of names, right? This is the foundation of humanity and for sharing the human experience. Remember, these are all collective, as Chris was just talking about. And it's the gift of logical expression. Again, this is the voice that says, I think. So it's the gift of logical expression, and it can help make concepts tangible so that they can be repeated, that they can be tested, that they can be validated or disproven by others. So this is what we're going to discuss today, this detail of the 62. And before we got started, Leanne read us this amazing quote that really, speaks to what the 62 is all about. So I would love for you to share that with us, Leanne.
Sure, sounds good. So we all know that logic is the scientific aspect of that body graph. So this quote is from Scott Adams, He's the actual creator of the Dilbert comic strips. So he says, scientists often invent words to fill the holes in their understanding. These words are meant as conveniences until real understanding can be found. Sometimes understanding comes and the temporary words can be replaced with words that have more meaning. More often, however, the patchwords will take on a life of their own, and no one will remember that they were only intended to be placeholders.
Wow. Wow. And again, it really fits into this, you know, the fixing of names is the foundation of humanity. And for sharing the human experience, again, these words that we use in order to have these placeholders, if you will. Chris or Rob or Natalie, I'm just curious, your observation, your ahas, your what you see around this trait 62, and also what Leanne just spoke about.
Yeah, so for me, what there's when we name something, we distance ourselves from that thing. And what this trait is really calling for is to, even though it points to the mind, even though it's logical, even though it has this very much like the naming of it's there's also this, what is the true essence of the thing? And that is, it's like we try to name, it's like love. You know, we call love all these things. We say, well, this is love, and this is love, and this is love. And yet, and maybe all of those are kind of true in some way, shape, or form. But is that really, can you really know love through the word love? No, you can't. It's impossible to know that. And so it becomes a placeholder. And as we're learning, even in BG5 or even at human design or anything, when we're learning about life, is we're learning about it from this, you know, trying to name the details of life, to control it, to have power over it, to understand it, and you know, in some ways to distance ourselves from it. And so the calling of deep presence and intelligence that comes with our presence with the thing, with the essence of the thing, is what this trait is really, really about. And yet, look at our education system, which is set up to memorize, here's a tree. What do you know about trees? Trees grow like this, and this is blah, 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 and they have this bark and stuff. But do we ever like really communicate with a tree? Most people will say, you can't talk to trees. They don't have the same language. However, they have the language of energy and the language of presence. And that is how we start to really understand the minutia, the interspatial relationship that is unknowable and yet known through our deep presence with a thing, with a person. And it's in the neutrino field we joke about, but it's at the same time it's in the spaces in between our words that real communication happens. And this is what the 62 is all about for me in my design. And I'm just like, where did I go? I don't even know. I just like, that just came in. There's an unconscious trait in an undefined function for you. That's exactly how that works.
Wow. Spoken very beautifully. Yeah, exactly. And how about for you, Rob? Because you also have this trait as well.
Yeah, so really quickly, I'm following 2 mic drops in a row. So I'm hoping that I will wax eloquently here. When you were talking about the support of the program, you know, and the themes, and when we're looking at this, that gave me a lot of comfort. That's one of the things that I really love about this information at the end of the day, is that there is something beyond me that is there to support me, right? And so with the 62 currently, I'm seeing a lot of people that are feeling, experiencing, and communicating limitation. Lots of it. And so for those people, I'm hoping that they're also going to feel that there's caution, patience, and detail that can produce the excellence out of this, that so much can be born out of so little, right? And I'm actually feeling this myself, right? So, you know, when I look around, it's easy for me to see limitations because my mind says, well, you ought to have more, you ought to go get, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, we all know how that works. But at the end of the day, I know, because I've had this trait my whole life, that most of the time, great things come out of the limitation. That you know, having tons of things doesn't mean that you're going to have a better shot, so to speak. And then on the second bullet point here, I do feel like I have a knack for organizing the details, especially as it pertains to all of the details that we have in this brand new gift to the entire world called BG5, right? No one's seen it before. Most people haven't experienced it. And so it's foreign to them, right? And so one of the things that instantly right away when you know, in 2015, when I got this and I began my training, I was able to compare it to other systems that were out there, other concepts that were similar, so that we could then move into a more complex conversation and situation safely without anyone just taking off and saying, no, that's too esoteric or whatever. And then, you know, yeah, same thing. So I use the fourth bullet point all of the time. Whenever I'm either maybe doing a strategy session for, you know, someone who's newly looking at BG5 and they're not sure whether they want to go the student path or if they want to go the client path and maybe receive an analysis first. I did both. I can actually hand over the tangibility to them so that they can either repeat it for themselves, test it for themselves, validate it for themselves, or disprove it for themselves.
Yeah. Yeah. Beautifully said, Rob. Thank you so much. And Natalie.
Yeah, so I don't have this in my design. No, I'd like to share something in the Facebook group because Jamie has it and her husband as well. And she shares, this comes up for me as a channeling of information when it's needed. And after, I don't remember what I say, which is funny. So I see Chris here. It's information that's for others, but I've learned to wait before speaking after providing information that was rejected as well. So that's beautifully said as well. Yeah. And
Very
I
nice.
just love what all of you shared. I think, yeah, don't have really something to add. And Leah says, definitely resonate with these traits. They are conscious for me and help me be a good coach, consultant, and teacher. So,
yeah, exactly. It was fun.
Oh,
Go ahead.
I was going to say, this is what happens for me in class is that we have mass amounts of information and I sit in class and it's like all this huge amount of information comes in and I see a little picture and I just describe the picture and it's like, oh, that's it. Okay. And it's easier like that, you know, applying those complex concepts and situations that Rob was talking about. Like I can do that and I don't have to think about it. It just happens. It doesn't, and that is a way that this works too.
Yeah, exactly. And you may find this showing up a lot. I was kind of giggling because in my class today, you know, we were focused on a lot of, you know, there was a lot of detailed questions and wanting to know, you know, sort of some deeper aspects of it. And at the same time, you know, I'm looking at how to also make it a little bit simpler as well. So yeah, so really taking a look at what this detail is all about. And I want to take it one step further here, and we can continue our discussion. When we take a look at taking it one step further and we take a look at what the quality is that we're looking at today, we have 62 in quality 3, which is about discovery, right? It's the pioneer. So in the elevation, it's the unusual gift of finding and expressing valuable details. It's the genius for the unusual, and it's the ability to discover valuable information in detail work and to find innovative applications for the knowledge as well. All right, so that's the elevation. There's also the challenge. The challenge is the expression of dissatisfaction and boredom in detail work. The dissatisfaction with the monotone of the detail work, where what is missed may be of great importance and value. Right, so here it's taking a look at the discovery of what the details are or not. So I would love to just get your thoughts, ideas, just impressions of what this quality 3 of discovery is all about. Do you want to start us off, Leanne?
So kind of like how I had just said prior to us going live, is that, we can lie through statistics, right? And this is the discovery process. So if you go up from the 62, 17 over to the 4, the fourth quality there is called the liar. It's the actor. So the formulas can lie to us. Mm-hmm. and we can create details and discover, hey, who's gonna, in the collective, who's gonna follow me into the logic with the lies or not? So it's important for, to be able to watch how these all play out and keep on looking at each layer. And this is collective, this is future. This is, how do we move into the future, and how are we testing these? How is this being tested in our world? And we see this deeply right now. I don't know how far we go into this on these lives, but we see this deeply. We have one aspect telling us one set of statistics. We have another aspect telling us another aspect of the statistics. And the whole time, all of 2020, the 61st, trait has been there, and it's been saying, you need to drop into your own inner truth and don't worry about all of these statistics that are going to lie to you, because your own inner truth is right here.
Yeah, and I think that's a good point, Leanne, because I think it's putting us, we're all under pressure to find this inner truth. And just because there are quote unquote facts, just because we've named things, just because they've discovered things, doesn't necessarily mean that it's true. Right? Facts, you can lie with facts. And so I think it's something that we also have to be very aware of. I've said this often, but consider that everything that we've been told and everything we're being told is a lie. Just consider that, right? Because then, again, the focus is on getting to your own inner truth. And, if the collective is very different, right, than the individual and the individual knowing, so taking a look at what are those facts, what are those figures, what are those statistics that are currently out there? Are they true? Are they not true? I always look at everything from every side, always with a grain of salt, because and then trusting myself, trusting my own inner truth to guide me to what is correct or not. Yeah, thank you for bringing that up, Leanne.
And Karen, you talk a lot about the times are changing, right?
Yeah.
And this, this is sitting in Ra's terms, the global orchestrated directory. So this large umbrella of this, and across the planning, which is all completely tribal, bloodline leadership. What have they been naming? What have they been wording? What are the statistics and facts that they've been telling us that you can see are breaking down? And people are like, hold on a minute, I'm actually individual in all of this. And it's breaking down for us to drop into that individuality and understand that those details can be manipulated.
Yeah, really good point.
Exactly. It's actually the voice that says, I think, right? And then for the collective to test if it's true or not. And I loved also the sharing, and we say this often, or you all shared it now, that it's collective, and how Chris says, I see a picture and then I describe the picture. It is visual, right? The collective energy here and the logical sharing. And there was one, let's see. Oh yeah, Leah Nash said, the fixing of names. I think of it as saying, name it to claim it. And that's actually what happens. Also with the statistics, also with everything. Name it to claim it, and then it can be, you know, it's out there to be tested, to be improved, to be whatever, right? But until it's not done, and then coming back to your quote, that's what is for now. But you know, in all the perfect how do you say that, the equation, it still can be wrong.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Right, because that's where for the collective, it's like, here's the and what's breaking down, it says, hey, we're the authority, we have the data, believe what we say. And yet 61 is saying, in the individual circuitry, is saying, wait a minute, as just going back to what Leanne was saying, this is how the two are bumping up, and what we're, all the data and the collective beliefs about the data. You know, naming it to claiming it can be empowering or totally disempowering depending on how you're using it. And that is, and it's so fascinating to see that. And that's like where it always comes down to, I'd say in our, like, well, not I say, but like we say here at BG5, but also specifically in our individual, how are we starting things? What's the intention and attention that we are starting something? Because that's going to have a lot of how we name it, claim it, and move through it, you know, from the get-go. And so our decision-making strategy can really help us to understand the truth of that, so that we are, you know, naming and claiming the things that truly empower us and others.
Right, exactly. And you know, it's really fascinating as we take a look at this progression, right? We just took a look at new beginnings last week. And so that really ties in beautifully with what you're talking about, and really the progression as we're moving through form. Yeah. Anything, Rob, that you would like to add?
Sure. Yeah. Thank you. So Leanne, thanks for teeing up this conversation in terms of like the truth that's being given out there and all of the disparate data sets that are being thrown at us. That's just like creating total confusion. And it's interesting, you know, for me, when I find that all of these quote truths are coming at me, you know, I'm luckily, I know that, you know, truth is a relative thing. And so if something's true for you, doesn't mean it has to be true for me. And thank goodness that I've got the stability of knowing my own career design and how it works. You know, most importantly, the decision-making strategy, you know, to go from, you know, and incidentally, I do have the 61, so I'm all about inner truth. So, and then it was interesting when you read the challenge, it just reminds me of the characteristic of an express builder. And I mean, sometimes this even still trips me up where I get going so fast and I'm like, too much detail. No, that's probably good for somebody else. Don't need it. Blah, blah, blah. And then I start tripping and falling, and then I got to go back and get the details because it was of great importance, because it was of value.
Yeah.
Yeah, so funny.
I see you laughing, Leanne, because we were talking about that earlier as well.
I do that too as a classic builder with this unconscious. I'm like, oh, it's too many details.
Yeah, Leanne.
Yeah, the express builders. Hey, Rob, we're just kind of skimming along in the on the top of the water until it's like, uh-oh, we gotta go back. We gotta swim back. Oh, shoot. Yeah, it's a fun process for sure. Yeah, Karen and I were just chatting about really how deep this science really is, right? And there's no way to absorb all of this, you know, in your cellular structure for quite a while. You know, like Karen says, 10 years. I'm like 7.5 years, something like that, right? And it's like, I think, Chris, you're 9, right? I don't know, Rob and Natalie, I don't know how long you've been, you know, learning this, but it really is a cellular thing, right? Mm-hmm. That we, you know, these details, it's going to be a challenge to absorb it all until it's not. Yeah.
Right. Right. Exactly. Exactly. And you know, if you're studying BG5, because I know we have a lot of students here live with us right now, you know, there is a lot of detail and there is a lot of information. I find myself, you know, after each class saying, especially in semester 2 of BG5 certification, like that it was a lot of information, right? It's a lot of detail, and there's a lot of detail to take in. And oftentimes, you know, you don't necessarily have to memorize all of the details, but you need to know where to find the details. And then not only how to find the details, we always need to, even though we're focused on the details in many respects, right, to kind of understand the details and, you know, what every trait is named, whatever, you know, what are the qualities named, right? That's what we're doing right here. You know, what are the public roles and what are they named, right? But also being able to, and it's very interesting that next week we're moving into, I believe we're moving into the stories. We're moving into the more sort of, you know, taking a look at the big picture next week. So it's very interesting that we move from one to the other. We move from the details, right? We move from really understanding those little details so that one, we can then move into creating a story. And that's what we're going to be taking a look at next week. But I also find that, like I said, I find it true in studying design as well, that we're focused on the details, but then we need to look and zoom out at the big picture so that we can really tell the story of what somebody's design is really all about. Yeah, amazing, amazing stuff. And I have to laugh. So we find a celebrity, right, that fits this particular trait. And I thought this was hilarious. I don't know if you know Ian Armitage. He's the young actor that plays young Sheldon. And I was watching some interviews of him, and he is that, right? He's like the character that he's playing is really, in a sense, him. And so he's an American child actor and theater critic. So he also does theater critiques, and he's just adorable. So he's best known for his starring role in Ziggy Chapman in Big Little Lies and as Sheldon Cooper in Young Sheldon. He's also played young Shaggy in Scoob. And in 2008, he received the Young Artist Award for Best Performance in a TV Series as a leading young actor for his role as Sheldon Cooper. So if you're not familiar with this television show, if you're not familiar with Young Sheldon, this actually is a spin-off from a television show called The Big Bang Theory. And so Sheldon is this sort of logical know-it-all, right? And always talking about the details and always talking about all of these things. And if we take a look at, again, this is his core essence here. Ian's core essence, and the life work theme is the material world, right? So you're a powerful force of education who understands that logic can transform and logic can heal, creating and using language to name and give form to or describe inner truths hidden in the detail. So, you know, what we've been talking about, and also talking about these inner truths, you know, it's very interesting. This life work theme is also about, you know, describing the inner truth that's hidden in the details. Because if you can see what's on the opposite side of the 62, right? They work in pairs. What's on the opposite side is what we have been talking about, is this 61, this inner truth. You know, so in essence, finding this inner truth through the details. So I just find this really fascinating. I don't know if any of you have watched the show or familiar with the show, but I would love to get your insights or feedback or anything that you see even in his design that you would like to share.
Yeah, I just say, you know, it's really fun, right? And he's that logical leader, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's bringing transformation to us. I am not interested in listening to science and that being spoken about, right? But when I would watch The Big Bang Theory, you know, he kind of made it fun, even though he was very detail oriented and very socially inept. It was fun to watch that. It was fun to watch that. Yeah.
Yeah. Have you ever seen the show, Chris or Rob?
I've watched Big Bang Theory, but I haven't watched Young Sheldon. But I just love reading this, and you just always find the perfect people. Like, it just cracks me up how it's like, this is, again, I say it every time, like, our design does us, you know, it finds us, our, you know, opportunities. And as a builder type here, he magnetized these opportunities for playing these roles to him that fit him. And every actor that we've looked at, every politician, every you know, inventor, creator that we've looked at so far, those famous people, it's like, oh my God, of course they're doing what they're doing, because it's their life work. And so I love that. I mean, it's so fun.
Well, I like how you put that, Chris. I haven't had a chance. I've watched maybe an episode or two. And it is amazing how this young man has just magnetized this perfection. And you know, the show is just an absolute masterpiece. I probably should watch more of it, just given the amount of logic, you know, traits and strengths that I have. So now I'm a little intrigued.
He does. I don't know what episode it is, but he did. I was watching one recently where he was talking about, you know, neutrinos and quarks. Yeah. And he was hoping the neutrinos would win, but the quarks won. So it's so again, quite fascinating. Well, cool. Anything in the Zoom room?
Yeah,
or
we have
in
a one quick question. Debbie's asking, what determines the quality for each day, like the 3 versus the 5 in this example? Do you want to just say quickly how that goes?
Yep. So it's based on, the 62, let me go here. So you can see the 62 here. So the 62 is the trait, and then we see a little dot and the 3. So this 0.3 is the quality, and that's what determines the quality of the day. So if we take a look at, let me just quickly go back. Really great question. You know, if I go back here, this is the chart at the beginning of today's class. You know, we can see it is the 62.3 as the core essence. And so really what we're focused on, there's all kinds of things that you can look at that impact this day. You know, but one of the biggest impacts is what that core essence is. So in a sense, this is the core essence of the day, is, you know, taking a look at these details and this discovery, which is what the 0.3 is all about.
Yeah, and so then it starts in the 1, and then it travels through each of the line qualities, all 6 line qualities, and that takes roughly, this is the scientific detail that I decided not to learn. Who has that? Karen, me, and someone who picked up that one.
Yeah, so it's approximately a day.
Yeah.
If we take a look at, we can see it in this chart too. You'll see there's actually 6 little lines. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then it moves on to the next one. So so each day, approximately, sometimes, you know, sometimes, yeah, ish, a day ish, it moves through each of the qualities. Yeah.
Debbie's in my foundation class, so she's
nice.
Probably getting that extra little boost of how this works. So great question, Debbie.
Love it, love it, love it. All right. Well, let's wrap everything up. First of all, if you are new to BG5 or human design, again, you can visit our website. If you want to take a look at what the trait is for the day and follow along, you can go to BG5 Live and it'll give you what the trait is for the day. You can also find our past episodes as well in our resource library. So invite you to check it out. Also, we have upcoming courses. So we have some upcoming foundation courses and new courses that are going to be starting in August and September. So please feel free to check that out and join one of our upcoming classes. So I would like to hear, before we wrap up, just very, very briefly, just taking a look at both Chris and Rob's design, if you can just, I know you spoke about it a little bit, but if there's anything else you want to add specifically around this trait 62 in your design, and then also sharing, so we'll start with Rob and Chris, also sharing anything that you want to leave people with, just to be aware of how this 62 operates or what to pay attention to? So we'll take a look at first the two of you that have it defined, and then we'll take a look at each of us will add something as well that have it undefined. So let's start with you, Rob.
All right. So, you know, it's interesting. For whatever reason, I guess it doesn't really matter, but today I'm realizing that so I communicate details. Like, this is what I'm here to communicate. And it's really neat. And I noticed that this is so interesting. So when, and it's got to be backed by, you know, it has to have oomph behind it, because otherwise it's just not going to land. And I found that when I come forward, like, too quickly, again, maybe skipping over details that were either of importance or of value, that I get a lot of pushback from the universe, and one way or the other, whether it's, you know, a challenge, or, you know, a skeptic saying something, or this, that, and the other. But when I take my time, and I really need to be taking my time, because the 52 is a very big part of how I should be living, and just have that pause that's so profound, you know, and then gather my details and then deliver with, I think, it always lands, and it's accepted, it's received, it's utilized and appreciated.
Yeah. And I think that's a really good point. And I think it's true for all of us as well. There's always an element of waiting in all of our designs. And we've been in this rush, busy world. And this whole shutdown, this worldwide shutdown, it's almost like putting the pause button on everything, so that we can really take a look at what is important and what is not important, and get back in tune with what is the correct timing. What is the correct timing, you know, to share those details in your case? Or what is the correct timing to take this action? Or what is the correct timing, you know, to say something? So really, really beautifully said. Thank you, Rob.
You're welcome.
And how about for you, Chris?
Yeah, so the 62 is, where is it? It's in my my maturing energy. Does that tell you something? Immature when it comes to it. No, one of the things to be aware of, this is in a projected circuitry. And so this voice needs to be invited or recognized before it's really received. And so the times where I have, the times when that message is most received is when it's like, hey, what do you think? Or I've waited and I've gathered enough details about what's really going on, and then synthesized it or put it into a simpler context, it lands. But if I, my independent individual assimilation is like, let's go, let's move faster. Come on, people, like, let's just get it. And then I don't listen to all, I don't wait until my sacral says, and now, or I don't wait until someone says, what do you see? What do you hear? If I don't wait, I rush and I label before I know. And that gets me in trouble. It creates miscommunication, and it creates me staying in my head and trying to figure out and defending what I said versus being in the space of it. And I literally just got that right now from listening to Rob and like this conversation. And
wow,
ouch, like that really. So anyway, I'm done.
Once again, as we were mentioning earlier, no matter how long you have studied this, there's always these deeper layers to the onion, this deeper aha, this deeper awareness of how things operate and who you are. So thank you for sharing that, Chris.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks for asking.
And how about for you, Natalie?
Yeah, so it's funny, since these BG5 lives, we just geek out on the details, and in essence, that's where we also learn or understand what the names actually are, or contain, or I don't know how to put it, right? Because in continuation of what you said, that we take it deeper each time, and the same with, you know, I'm also teaching this for a while now, and in my process for quite a while. So it is just fascinating how, and I love these BG5 lives because we have the opportunity to then get deeper in discussion and all of the energies here. And I'm so happy we're doing the invitations now and having Leon here as well. So yeah, it's just fascinating. And yeah, if you use it wrongly, like naming things that aren't, it also gets back to you, right? So there is a specific reason why things are called like they are called in BG5 and human design, and yeah, you know, Ra got it somehow, and we are very happy with it. But if you try to, you know, kind of run with it and put it in your, you can explain it but still use the naming, but if you twist it, it doesn't work, right? So it is just a fascinating information anyway.
Yeah.
And I love the details. I don't have this trait, but I have a lot of other detail stuff.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Which is actually in the same, so I have the format strength of this circuitry. So
yeah. Thank you so much, Natalie. And how about for you, Leanne? It's been such a pleasure having you on board. I just love the dynamic that you add. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you for asking. So Natalie, what I would say is it's a frequency. You know, if we go back to the Bible, right? In the beginning, there was the Word, and the Word holds a frequency, period, right? And that's how the material world, our Maya, is created.
Yeah.
And when we change the word, we change the frequency, which then changes the actual illusion of it. Right? So that, again, that's why, you know, Ra's legacy is here in the BG5 Business Institute. It's his legacy because the frequency needs to be there in order for our material world to be the correct illusion. You know, you can live it through the shadow. You can name it through the shadow. You can use that, but man, is there ever going to be chaos? Right? And really what his legacy is, listen, let's stand in our uniqueness. Let's stand in our individuality, and let's, you know, use the frequency and build the Maya based off of our own uniqueness, right? So the other two keynoting that I wanted to share there with the 62 is it's reasonable, right? So the details have to be reasonable. So if, you know, Rob and Chris and anybody else that has that trait, if your details are not reasonable and your frequency of your voice of the details isn't reasonable, it can't land. Because the minute we have unreasonable leaders, you know, they're crazy, right? Like it's not going to land. There's no certainty there. The details are like, no, I don't care what you think because it's very unreasonable. So organizing humanity to walk into the future has to be reasonable. We have to test it and keep testing it in order for it to become certain or not. So, yeah.
Wow. Really beautifully said, Leanne. And it was just having me come back to really what if you take a look at what the life work theme is, right? It's the Maya, it's the material world, right? And how much that detail, and like you said, the frequency and the frequency of the words that we attach to things, how that frequency affects us. Really profound.
Yeah, it can totally disempower someone to take away the negative connotation of a word because we want to protect them. When in reality, the truth of the frequency of the word is what actually liberates a person. And that's where it's so important. I so hear you, Leanne. Thank you for saying that.
Yeah.
So important.
Yeah.
And that's why I think it's also very important where you get the details, right? You know, like I mentioned before, there are a lot of people out there that are talking about human design and human design for business. But they have, it's not what Leanne was saying, you know, that's Ra's legacy. It's something a bit distorted. It's a little bit off. It's a little bit, not quite right. And so I just want to put that out there. It's just to, you know, just to be aware, and to make sure that when you really understand what this information is about, it is deeply, deeply, deeply profound. And the words do matter.
Yeah.
And so I think it's really important.
You know, something else I'll just throw in here, you know, as we come to a close, I don't know how long you guys take, but understanding that the 62 is pointing to the mind. The mind is not here. We're not here to manifest on these details. That's not what it is. It's communication, right? If we're going to manifest, it needs to be connected to a motor. It needs to be, you know, this is where we take action. And unfortunately, that word manifestation is got, like, the frequency of that has totally got distorted because we're doing it from a mental plane. We are disregarding 150% our decision-making strategy, and our world looks like this chaotic mess, right? And that when, you know, when we walk up to the 4, that's what it's, you know, that's the anxiety that there's going to be chaos. So it's to understand the deeper nuances of this science so that we can actually operate correctly, so that, you know, like Rob says, your career type is correct, so that you're living this in a way that is so, it just happens through you, as Chris would say. You don't have to think about it. There's no, it's just working through you. Instead of trying to figure out each level, let everything just settle into you. Let that frequency of your design settle into you so that you can make money on this material plane in a way that is way more simpler than what is being presented today in the world.
Yeah. And not only simpler, something that feels joyous, that's aligned, that you would do no matter what, because it brings you joy, you know, and yes, maybe it happens to bring you money as well, but that's not the focus. That's not the purpose.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yep.
Beautifully, beautifully said. It has been an amazing look at this 62. So I really want to thank each and every one of you that contributed, and thank you so much for Leanne. As Rob would say, you know, a lot of huge mic drops, a lot of very profound ways of taking a look at all of this in a much deeper way. So it's been just incredible to have you join us, and you are welcome back anytime. So anytime you're available at this time, we would love to have you join us. So, so thank you for being here.
Thank you. That was fun. Love it.
Yeah, this is, you know, you guys are all just watching our own little kind of geek out session where, you know, we're learning more about this for ourselves as well. And you happen to be able to join us along for the ride, and hopefully you've enjoyed that as well. So thank you, everyone. It has been our absolute pleasure. Again, continue to trust yourself. Take a look at what your inner truth is. You know, what are the details that lead to that inner truth, and follow your decision-making strategy and love yourself. So thank you again, everyone, and we'll see you next week when we'll start taking a look at the stories that come out of the details. All right, everyone. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.